What I would like to talk about now, right, it's a part of the course, and I've kind of been reluctant to do this for a while, even though I kind of felt guided to do it. But it talks about revelation, and this was the experience that kicked everything off for me personally on a level that I never thought was basically even imaginable that this could happen, and the way it happened, it was. You know, I always thought many things, great things was going to happen to me in my life, but I never ever thought that this was going to be one of those things that would happen. So, the way it was with me was, you know, I was not a student of A Course in Miracles. And I could never have been a student of A Course in Miracles. Absolutely no way. Because I had issues with God, with religion, with the Holy Spirit. And I don't think I had a big problem with Jesus. He never came into the equation, like, you know. But I had a lot of issues. So, and I walked away from religion very early in life. I actually ran away from it. But throughout life, I always kind of also, you know, when people would say to me, you know what, when I think it was 14 or 15, when I made a solemn vow that I would never step foot in another church. Because I went to a school that was run by priests, and they were pretty violent, and they were pretty brutal. And I said, if these guys represented God, then that wasn't a God that I wanted anything to do with. So I walked away, and I made a promise that I wouldn't entertain religion in my life. And then when people used to say to me, you know, are you going to this, are you going to Mass, or are you going to midnight Mass, or are you going to this? And I would go, no, my church is in here. You know, I didn't even know what I was saying, you know. But I looking back on it now, I knew at some level that I didn't know the truth. So I went through a period in my life. I had no spirituality. I was never a seeker of enlightenment. And I didn't see any difference between spirituality and religion, you know, the way I see the difference in it now. But I went through a very dark period in my life. And basically everything was taken away from me. All my special relationships, everything that I valued in the world was all forced away from me. And I was an extrovert personality, and even that was taken from me. I was forced into becoming an introvert. And all of this, all of losing all of these attachments, losing all my friends, my family, my children, my house, my businesses, my jobs, everything. My personality, my persona. And all I was left with was what?
Shadow.
My shadow. And I lived in my shadow for about 10 years. And you could imagine, say, this, you know, imagine this shadow here, okay? And my shadow basically was like, knew nothing about forgiveness. Knew nothing about, I'd never read a spiritual book in my life. So what was happening here, this was, you know, an Eastern terms, to talk about the cup. You know, your cup is overflowing, okay? Or empty the cup. Well, when you see that from the cup, what they're talking about is the mind. And what happened was with me is my mind, because I was living in the shadow, filled and filled and filled and filled and filled. So there's a line in A Course in Miracles that says that God placed a limit on our ability to miscreate. And what that means is there will come a point in our lives when we reach this limit. And for 10 years, I kept building up this because I was being victimized. And I was so sure that I was the victim. And it's a very painful life to lead playing the victim, because you seek out people to victimize you. And that's what I did. I sought out many, many people to victimize me. And I was so sure. And I sought vengeance. I wanted justice. You know, I wanted blood. I wanted all of these needs and demands and expectations and desires, you know. And it was murder what I wanted. And the more that all of these filled up my cup, this was just pure darkness, pure pain. And this journey of mine was known as the dark night of the soul. And what happens if you were practicing forgiveness, right? Forgiveness basically empties the cup. You know, if you're practicing forgiveness, that empties the cup. So it never gets too painful for you. And this is why I chose a life with no spirituality. Because this is how I was going to wake it up. My life called for me to fill this cup with darkness, fill it with pain, as much pain as possible. And I got to this point here. Okay? And I came to this point, and this is the point we all come to, where there was a choice. And here I had a choice. Okay? And the choice that came to me was this: end it. Suicide. Finish it now. And that voice was so insistent that I ended life. This was the only way. And I'm sure there's many people around the world who get to this point in their lives. And they listen to this voice. And they basically follow this voice. And Jesus talks about this in the Course. But when I got to this point, I battled for about 2 weeks with that voice about suicide. And I couldn't do it. And you know why I couldn't do it? It was because of my children. Because I felt so much a failure as a father, because the marriage had broken up and I had to move out. And I just felt I carried so much guilt with me about being the failure of a father. Even though I was with my children every day, to take them to school, and leave them to school and collect them from school and so on, like I was there, but I still had this feeling that I just could not add any more pain to their lives than I already did. So suicide was out. So left only one other option, which was surrender. And I still to this day, you know, you talk about cause and effect. And the way this worked was there was a thought came into my mind. When I ruled suicide out, I made the conscious that I can't do that. So that was it out. Okay, so I can understand all the people. That's the first thought that comes in, because Jesus says, of course, the ego speaks first. So the ego's always wants you dying of guilt, because then you're back again. And this is a continuation for the ego. So when I ruled that out, it left cause and effect. Basically, I denied death and I chose life. Jesus says, blessed are those who have suffered, for they have found eternal life. What he really means is, blessed are those who have surrendered. Because it's only through suffering that you're going to surrender. You can either commit suicide or you can surrender. That's the options. And that's the options that I had at this point. Because I had reached this level where Jesus talks in the Course about where God placed a limit on our ability to miscreate, which is a limit on our pain. So one thought came into my mind, and the thought was this: I was responsible for everything in my life. And when that thought came in, it was so insane that I thought, because I was so sure of how people had victimized and hurt me. I was rock sure. You know, I would have bet anything on it. But this thought stayed there, and it remained there. I was responsible. And I stayed with that thought all night that night. And I went in and I started to look very closely at everything in my life. And with my near-death experiences, I seen I wasn't the body, and I said, well, if I wasn't the body, then who was it? So all of this came in, and that night, basically something happened where I accepted responsibility. I surrendered. I was willing to let all of this go. At some level. I still don't know how I did it, but I did it. And the next morning I woke up, and for the first time in my entire life, my mind was still in peace. No chitter-chatter. No ego's voice. Just peace. And it was beautiful. And for the next 7 days, that peace stayed there. And 7 days after that, I had what the Course calls revelation. And how Jesus describes revelation, he says, it's an unspeakable experience of unspeakable love. Okay? It's direct communication. It's direct. It's where you direct, basically, communication from God. It's where you unite directly with God. And Jesus says he inspires it. I inspire revelation because of the miracle readiness of my brothers. So in other words, right, to make this simple, Jesus introduced me to God. All right? And that's the cut of it. All right? Now, he has reminded me over and over again, right, that You know, this didn't happen just for God to go, "Hi, Michael, how you doing? You know, be on your way now. Nice, here's a little gift for you." There was a reason for all of this. And what revelation really means, okay, it's direct communication from God to me, but it's not reciprocal. It doesn't go from me to God. Okay? So, here's the crux. What does this literally mean? Okay, in a practical living way. What is this all about? Why did I have this experience? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And what it really means is this. And I have never spoken of this in this depth before or on video before, but I feel that I need to do this because I'm a spokesperson, all right? And I'm a spokesperson for God. I'm not a spokesperson for Jesus. Revelation is inspired by Jesus, and what I was given came directly from God. And what that means is God gave me a series of revelations, and He gave me 21 of them in total. And out of those 21, I have given you all 16 of them. But these 16 revelations is not only for you, but for everybody in A Course in Miracles. Okay? And what these really mean is these are to help. What my purpose here in relation to A Course in Miracles is this. For those people who want to waken up now and go home in this lifetime, that's my purpose. To give you the tools and the information and the means and the way to do this. If you don't want to come back again, then this is for you. Now, I'm not saying what other people teach is wrong. Okay? But there's an awful lot of people who's not ready to go home yet. So other people are teaching at different speeds. There's no teacher here teaching anything wrong. It's either now or later. That's the only choice in this. We're all going to waken up. Eventually we're all going home to heaven. That's not even up for dispute. The only choice you have is now or later. Okay? So what I want to do in this video, what I want to do with you now is put this in. These revelations have come directly to me from God to give to you if you want to go home now. And I know this does sound egotistical. And I have, basically resisted doing this for a long time, but I just want to put these into one place because this is where God speaks to you throughout the day. All right? So let me start. I'm going to start with number 16. And number 16 basically is this. Intellectualization. Okay? And what I've discovered and what has been revealed to me is that almost everybody who's doing A Course in Miracles is doing it through the intellect. The thinker is the ego. And you have to move out of intellectualizing the Course into the experience. And the only way that you're going to do that is to transcend the intellectual mind. I'm working with a number of people and they've been doing the Course for 25, 30 years. And they're all saying the same thing now. I have intellectualized the Course. They haven't moved forward. They've intellectualized forgiveness, meaning they're just saying the words. They're not meaning anything they're doing. They're just saying the words. Okay? The ego loves the intellect. The intellect is the ego. Okay? The observer is who you are. The observer is behind the intellectual. So as long as you're basically intellectualizing the Course, you ain't moving anywhere with it. So it's time to let the intellect drop and move to the experience, and you'll do that through the observer. The next biggest insight was given to me, number 15, and I thought I would rate this a lot higher. Was the rationalization. Okay? If you continue to rationalize all of your projections, your emotions, you're going to continue to keep the ego. Now, can I say to you, did anybody know the power of rationalizations before it was discussed here? No one knew. And people are waking up to this. They can't believe how they fell for this. This is one of the most powerful ego devices that's in the course, how we rationalize everything. We rationalize our entire lives. It's a fake, it's a phony, it's all made up. Everything. We rationalize our reputation. Our problems are all rational. We even rationalize this world. Everything's a rationalization. And every rationalization is a lie. It's a lie that we tell ourselves over and over and over again, and we believe it, and we make it true by rationalizing it. And as long as you keep rationalizing your emotions, you're going to keep all those negative experiences. And as long as you keep rationalizing all the good things in your life, you're going to lose them. Okay? So, master rationalization. Remember, these are basically to help us to waken up now, not later, now. Number 13. Oh, sorry. Right. We'll go 15 there, 14, sorry, 13. So start 15. So 13 is Ascension. And Ascension is very important. Okay? Because I didn't know this, and I don't know if any of you knew this, because everybody thinks when they leave here they go to heaven. Alright? Is that right? Okay? This is you. This is heaven. Okay? Everybody kind of thought when they died here, they went to meet God, and that was it. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. The spiritual universe. The higher universe. And when Jesus says the Christ universe, right? No one goes to the Father except through me. This is the higher universe. This is the spiritual universe. And this is the physical universe. Now, I've been contacted by a number of people and groups around the world, and they are just blown away from this. They're picking out old paintings, old symbols, and this is on it, of thousands of years ago. Because this was shown to me as the template of miscreation or creation, wherever you want to do it. Because everything fits into here. And a person contacted me, and they had a book, and it discussed about the higher heavens. It discussed about the spiritual universe and the higher heavens above the spiritual universe. In the Bible, I think Jesus talks about, my Father has many mansions, has many rooms. This is what it all is. Okay, so Ascension is very important to understand that when you basically pass away, this is the cycle of reincarnation. You're only going to here and you're coming back. You're going to here and you're coming back. You're going to here and you're coming back. You have the physical body here, and Jesus talks about in the Course you have the illusion of a body here, our spiritual body. But above here, there's no bodies. This is consciousness, this is light, this is oneness. The body ends here. And here's something else you need to understand. This is where all beliefs end. There's no words, there's no ideas, there's no thoughts above here. In the separation, in Ascension, this is the highest form of knowledge that there is. All true knowledge, this is where the Akashic records are. Words, knowledge, ideas, concepts are all below this, not above this. Okay? So when you go back up here, you're going into light. You're moving out of darkness, moving out of separation, moving out of that density. You're going back into light because that's who you are, is light. That's Ascension. Okay? Number 12 was basically wake up. That's everything that's in the video, wake up now or later, and what we done today, wake up step by step. You want to wake up, okay? Wake up step by step on that one sheet of paper we did in the earlier video. Master everything in that, you're guaranteed to waken up. Guaranteed. Simple as that. Because everything that's in A Course in Miracles is in them tools. Okay? Number 11. The spiritual laws. Okay? The 13 spiritual laws. Because when you wake up, that's how you're going to live, and that's who you are. So you're given this knowledge, that's the goal. That's the way you're going to think, and that's the way you're going to live, because that's what it means to be spiritual. It's not about buying spiritual clothes, or wearing spiritual gear, or reading spiritual books, or going to spiritual conferences. It's about living spirituality. That's what those laws do. Okay? Number 10. The separation. That was the very first concept that I taught 6 years ago. And it's so important because that's the root cause of all suffering. It's our journey from here down into here. The separation. And if you want to see that, look at the video, the separation. It'll take you through step by step by step. Okay? Very important. Because if you don't understand where you come from and how you got here, you're always going to be blaming someone else in your life for all the pain in your life. You're not going to understand it. And number 9. I call it the temple, or the template of or the template of creation. And again, it's just the same diagram, right? So you put in consciousness here, right? Everything fits into here. So you have physical consciousness, you have spiritual consciousness, you have higher consciousness, you have Christ consciousness, and you have divine consciousness. Here you have dualism, here you have non-dualism, non-dualism, and here you have pure non-dualism. So everything fits into here, even the chakras. Okay, you all know about chakra energy. Here you have the 3 base chakras here. And here you have the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and 7th energies. All fit into this. So this is the template of creation. This is the map, the road map home. And the next one was shown was this. The illusion of time. Okay? Do you remember that one? Yeah? Anybody? Here, you have 1,000 years. Here, you have 1 year. Here, 1 day. Here, 1 second. And here, 0 time. So people think, when you are going back up, everybody says, well, I have to wait now till everybody else comes up. You don't. Because here, in the spiritual universe, you there for 1 year, 1,000 years pass here. Here, 1 day, 1,000 years passes here. And here, 1 second. And up here, it all happened like that in a second. So time is an illusion. Number 7. The script. Why is the script so important?
Because the lessons are being set out in a pre-birth plan.
Why is it so important? Why is the script so important?
To wake up.
So you're not affected.
Yes. See, a lot of people are saying, I didn't ask to be born. You know, I didn't ask to be born a woman, I didn't ask to be born a man, I didn't ask to be born in Ireland, or I didn't ask to be born here. You know, I didn't choose to be born, I didn't choose my parents. You know, I didn't choose my children. You know, so we get all the time to blame someone else. We're in pain, we're in agony or whatever, and we just say, it wasn't my fault, I'm a victim. So the script is so important because in the script, we have a contract. And we have a contract with everybody in our family. No one is in your family without you wanting them and them agreeing to be in it. So, so important that you understand the script. Because if you don't, you are going to project and blame other people in your lives for everything that's wrong in your lives. And people blame God also. I didn't ask to be born. Because I did. You know, I know this very well because I played this very well. Number 6. Self-empowerment. Okay? Self-empowerment is so, so important. What is it for? We did this. Huh?
Take responsibility.
Yeah? What's it a tool for?
Take responsibility.
Huh? It's a specific tool. We talked about this for 10 minutes before the break. Hmm? Seriously, I come on the point, but one person to listen to me.
Not too fast.
Huh? Anybody?
Special relationship.
Thank you so much. It's the tool for undoing the special relationship. You can't undo the special relationship without doing self-empowerment. Because you have the 5 steps. You have, first step is self-awareness. So that means, say you're angry with someone in your family. Alright? So you're really pissed off with someone. So self-awareness is the first step. So you say, right, who's pissed off? Who is this you? Who is the me that's angry? Because it's not you, it can only be your ego. So then you, second step is where you detach. Now you see this person, say if this person's very close to you, remember your family, now your task is to detach emotionally from this person, and now you see this person the same as you would see anybody else. Because you're only attached to that person because you're seeing them specially because they have a special meaning to you. Second one, or third one is discernment. Now you see what's true, what's false. You do forgiveness, the fourth, and then you take action on the fifth. If you cannot undo the special relationships without self-empowerment, without going through that process of detaching emotionally from the people close to you. Okay? Number 5. ATF. What's the purpose of ATF? Undo our projections. Very simple. You see, from now on there's a tool for everything. Number 4. Complete forgiveness. Is a tool for undoing our emotions. The pain body that Eckhart Tolle talks about. Number 3. The ego right mind. This was one of the first revelations that God showed to me. Because this was so important. When the first book was published in 1974, I think it was, Jesus had to come back in again and give to Helen the song of prayer. Because no one got what forgiveness was. No one got what prayer was. No one got what healing was. So I had to come back in and basically do the song of prayer. And still nobody got it. And it was one of the first things that I was guided to actually bring into the world was to show people that you're in the ego right mind. And I remember this lady here a couple of years ago when I started talking about the ego right mind. Debbie says, what? The ego has a right mind? Now everybody around the world is using this concept and have used this to get out of the ego right mind. If you didn't know about this, how the hell are you going to get out of it? So this was very, very important. It was so important that Jesus had to rewrite the book almost to get this into the book. Number 2. I'm going to see now if you can get the last 2. What's number 2? And it's not sex, Mary. Sex was about long before God spoke to me. What?
Two is foreplay.
Right. What's number 2?
Separation.
No, we don't answer. You're not listening. No, that was there long before this. This is what was really given. These are all things that was given to me to bring to the world of the Course in Miracles. You know, that's what basically revelation was. I was given this to bring this message and give it into the Course world to help them to waken up now if they want it. So what was the second biggest revelation that you had there this year?
Personality.
What do you call it?
Personality.
What do you call it?
Separate self.
No one understood what the separate self was. Those 3 components. Everybody kept calling, it's my ego, that's your ego, this is my ego, and so on. The ego is the thought system. The separated self is who you're pretending to be in the thought system. So, when this was shown to me, it was shown to me in such a way, who are you, who you're not. You are a personality you chose. You have a persona that you keep choosing, and you have a shadow that you're trying to get rid of. So important to understand. And that was a big revelation. And the biggest revelation of all is, and I'm trying my best to get this message out to the people in the world in the Course, and it should be big news to a lot of people. What is it? Debbie?
No, we didn't.
Come on.
Specialists now.
No! What is the biggest thing you've heard this year?
Patience. The only 3 ladies now are later.
One concept.
Forgiveness in the now. No, we don't do that. Oh, yes. Never been away.
We have never been awake. We didn't fall asleep because we'd never been awake. This turns everything on its head. Because now, this means that we didn't do anything in God. We basically chose this experience to come here to simply wake up. And what that means is, think about this, right? If we're one with God in heaven, how could we know ourselves? There's a line in the Course that says it was God's will that we know our creations. So how could we know our creations when we didn't even know who we were? We didn't even know who God was. We didn't even know what heaven was. But what we did know was the state of being we're in. We're in a state of bliss. We're thrust out of that state of bliss into a state of darkness, into a state of pain. And the only way that we could really envisage what heaven is, we had to learn and experience what everything that heaven is not. And that's the choice you have here. You could never wake up in heaven because you would have had the thought that Jesus talks about. What else is there? And you could never have done anything with it.
Sorry, Michael? Why were we separated in the first place?
But we're not. We believe that we're
Why
separate.
did we believe in the first
Right.
place?
Have you children?
Yeah.
Right. How does your children know you?
No.
Okay. Right. Just
I'm there.
when the child is inside you, it's one with you. It doesn't know you, it doesn't know itself, it doesn't know its environment, it's in that state of bliss, yes? Yeah. So how does the child get to know itself? It separates from you. It gets born. Now you teach the child this is who you are, and you teach the child who you are. Isn't that right? So how can you do that if the child is inside you? So where does the child go to learn? School. Where does Jesus say we're in? We're in a classroom. We are children who are learning who we are, and then we're going to learn what heaven is, who God is, and everything else, and then we go home. It's the exact same thing. We had to actually believe that we were separate to know ourselves. Because we can't know ourselves in oneness. We can't know ourselves if we believe that we're still one with God. How could we? So we had to have this dream Okay? Where we experienced and believed we're separate. So what makes the separation real?
I believe
Hmm?
it. I believe it.
No. What makes our belief in it real? Sorry, James.
Oh.
What makes this real for us? One thing and one thing only.
Okay, sorry.
Pain. Pain makes the separation real, because there's that line in the Course where Jesus says, when there's pain, there's no God. When there's God, there's no pain. So pain confirms the separation is real, which confirms our belief that we're separate. This is so, so important to know. Something amazing is happening at this time. We're here to waken up for the first time in your life. You're never going to experience this again, ever. You're never, ever going to have the thought, right? What else is there? Because you have experienced everything that heaven is not. Now, you would need to be pretty seriously the biggest idiot in the world to ever think about choosing separation after this. Now, why it's so hard to waken up is this. You have to make sure that every fiber in your being wants nothing else, only God. And when you have come to that point, you will waken up. That's how simple it is. It can't be an intellectual. Oh, I want heaven. Do you know? Oh, I'm fed up with this. It's like you're going out with someone and then you get fed up with them. Oh, separate, and then you go find someone else or whatever, right? We are not going to go back to the state of heaven until we basically relinquish every desire, expectation, need, or demand, or every seeking outside of ourselves. So you see, every time we seek for anything outside of ourselves, we're choosing the ego. And Jesus says, why are you concerned when you chose the ego back then, when you're still choosing the ego now? You know, everybody who was doing the Course, they're all going to say, how did we do this? And they're still seeking outside themselves. And they're going, how did we choose the ego? And Jesus said, don't worry about it. Because every time you seek outside yourself, you activate the separation all over again. So throughout one day, you could go through 50 separations in that one day, just by seeking for things outside yourself all the time. So until you get to the point where you seek for absolutely nothing outside yourself, you're not going to wake it up. That's it. Okay? Any expectations on that? Any desires? Any needs? You know? So, really what this is all about, when you have experienced everything that you want to experience in yourself, when you're fed up with the whole lot, then let it all go. You'll wake up and go home to heaven. That's what it's all about. That's the meaning of life. Simple. Yeah?